Moving on to another young Japanese superstar, let's move on to Yuki Tsunoda, the young Japanese superstar in F1. His rookie year right now for the AlphaTauri F1 team. And honestly, he's had some good showings. He's had some bad showings. It's kind of been a 50-50 year so far right now. But with this kid being backed by obviously the great F1 fans in Japan and the power of Honda, and obviously he's in the Red Bull Junior program, Yuki Tsunoda is really one of those up-and-coming rising stars of F1 right now.
Yeah, he reminds you of a lot of the other young F1 stars who have come through over the past few years. Really doing well in F2. Last year, he had 3 wins, I believe, in F2 in 2020. Has really performed well over the past couple of seasons. Comes up to F1 this year, and when you first come up to F1, you're not gonna dominate. You're not gonna, especially with the way that Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton and Red Bull and Mercedes are doing right now. There's no way you're gonna crack the top 5, and even McLaren's has been doing great this year too. So you're not gonna get in as a young driver at 21 without a lot of experience in F1. You're probably not going to crack the top 5 or get a podium very often, if at all. So, but the way that he's been performing so far this year, you can tell he belongs. He's not just this kind of fish out of water coming up to F1. His best finish was 7th at Baku. I know he was actually disappointed in his 7th place finish by some of the guys in the way that they passed him at Baku. But, that's certainly a very impressive top 10 finish for a guy like that who's just getting his feet wet in F1. He's got, I think, 9 points so far this season. So I think he's in like 14th place, which is probably what you can expect for the amount of experience that he has. I think he's only been in 8 races. So, this is about what you would see from a first-year F1 driver like him. And I think the sky's the limit for this guy. He looks like he's going to be one of those next superstars in F1 racing. And it's going to be interesting to see, once he gets good, which car he's going to go to, because he's not going to stay where he is for very long if he keeps being successful.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point of where his future lies, and he's going to have plenty of options, especially, like I said, if Honda keeps backing him with the power that they're doing right now. He'll have plenty of options, especially within the Red Bull program. But I think he's had a kind of a mixed bag season. Like you said, if we're comparing him, being that he is only a rookie, but, F1 is, the 20 best drivers in the world. So we have to compare them to the other guys. But like you said, he's kind of midfield right now. And that's exactly where they want their car to be. It's a midfield car. He's done a great job, I think, racing that car in the midfield. And at times he has outraced his teammate, Pierre Gasly, even though Pierre Gasly has gotten the best of him this season, outqualified him, has outraced him, and is clearly, Pierre Gasly's put himself back in the situation where he might have a chance to go back to Red Bull in the future. I mean, the guy's been all over top 10s this year. P6 has pretty much been his spot all year long for Pierre Gasly. So he's got himself a big, measuring point against in his teammate, Pierre Gasly. But Yuki Tsunoda, I think, has risen to the occasion, has shown well over the last few Grand Prix, especially. I think he's getting his feet under him. He's had some big crashes, obviously, earlier in the year at Imola. And then most recently, he had a big crash in qualifying at the French Grand Prix that put him to the back of the grid. But he went on to have a great Sunday and raced well and is putting himself up there and has some great overtakes, especially one against Fernando Alonso, who is honestly, everybody knows Fernando's an F1 legend back on the grid for the Alpine F1 team. But, man, I think Yuki Tsunoda, like you said, having some measuring points against Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and his teammate Pierre Gasly, man, there are so many great drivers on the grid that he's competing against the best week in and week out. So he's got to bring his best. And he has started to really piece it together over these last few Grand Prix. You brought up his P7 finish at Baku. Then most recently at the Styrian Grand Prix in Austria, he managed to bring home the car P10. And that was after he received a grid penalty for blocking Valtteri Bottas during qualifying. And he said, I deserve the penalty and I'm just going to move on and have a good Sunday drive. And that's exactly what he did. And he drove himself up into the position of points into P10. So I think right now, this young up-and-coming superstar in F1 is having a great rookie year right now, and he's really putting himself on the map. But there's plenty of options ahead for this guy, whether he wants to stay in AlphaTauri for a few years, but there's honestly been some talk of him already being that future replacement to replace possibly Sergio Perez in the future in the Red Bull seat to match up against Max Verstappen. And man, that would be amazing. You have the young Japanese superstar, and then you have the young Dutch superstar in Max Verstappen. So, Red Bull has a lot of great options right now, whether they want to go ahead and bring back Pierre Gasly, who has been in prime form right now, or whether they want to look to the future with a young Japanese superstar of Yuki Tsunoda. So if I'm Yuki Tsunoda right now, I just keep it up right now. I keep plowing ahead. I keep my head down, keep looking to chip away some points. And, I keep my relationship strong with Honda, which we all know that's going to keep going. But quickly, before I hand it off to you, one of the funny things that Yuki brought up in the paddock is he said the best thing he loves about being an F1 driver is obviously the travel, but on top of the travel, he loves the food. This kid loves eating food. He loves eating food in the paddock. He said he gets his Italian food in the AlphaTauri paddock, and then he goes over to the Red Bull paddock and gets his international food with a little bit of Japanese food with some sushi and some Mexican food, because obviously they got Sergio Perez over there now too. So I think one of the biggest things for this young superstar is enjoying the food and enjoying the life of an F1 driver. But man, this is a guy to watch out for in the future. And I think he's really starting to piece it together right now in F1.
Yeah, he seems like a fun guy, a guy that a lot of people are going to be attracted to once he becomes even more successful in F1. I hope he doesn't eat his way out of F1 racing like some guys eat their way out of the NBA. I don't think that'll happen, but that's a cool story to think about. And, racing for Red Bull like that, I mean, they've been unbelievable.